What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 5, Episode 13, and it's called Chapter 89, Reservoir Dogs.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending of the podcast. We're going to go through our recap roundups, your recap roundups, our best moments, our WTF moments, our MVPs. There were so many moments that it was really hard to choose this week. But you guys sent us a ton of roundups, so we'll get into that at the end of the podcast. So stick around for that. And also, we'll be discussing theories and questions that we have for each other and for our audience. So be sure to stick around for that.
As always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Just as a really quick shout out, we have a brand new Twitter account. It is recap_rewind pod. Before it was recap_rewind, but recap_rewind pod is our brand new Twitter. So check us out. Follow us if you were following the other account. Right now, we're just like in the middle.
Also,
yeah,
if you haven't already, listen to our interview with Mr. Mark Consuelos, aka Hiram Lodge. We did it from last week's episode. So if you're listening on iTunes, if you're listening on Spotify, it should be the episode before this one. Check it out. It's a long interview. He spills all the tea of like what went into playing Hiram Lodge, and then his son playing Michael, playing young Hiram
in the last
episode. Listen to it. Great interview. Had so much fun. Thanks, Mark. Always coming through for us.
Loved it.
This episode, not as much Hiram and not as much Jughead. And when I say not as much, zero.
Nothing.
Zilch. So there was a lot of, just before we get into it, there was a lot of hate on Twitter that I saw last night that Jughead wasn't in it. What did you think? And did you even notice that he wasn't in it?
You know what's really funny? I didn't even realize that he wasn't in it until Betty gets in the car and into the truck. And I was like, oh yeah, he got like kidnapped or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize until he was to that point. So that was interesting. And he doesn't narrate the beginning either, as far as I remember. Like he doesn't start off the narration either. No. So it seems like they try to do that whenever he's not around. But I didn't notice, nor did I care, nor did I feel like he needed to be in this episode. There were so many things happening. I know that people are there just for Cole Sproul / Jughead. You guys are crazy fans. I get it. But like, you need to give people the opportunities to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And he'll have his moment. I'm sure he's coming back next episode. So chill out and enjoy whatever you get. Yeah. What did you think?
Overall, I liked the episode. I mean, definitely coming off of last week's, that was so strong. This was still strong. Like there was a lot of components that I did love about it. Like, you know, the Archie storyline was a little weird to me at first, but the way they ended it, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing and so like sad and beautiful. Like that was very touching. I love Reggie together. Like there's something really entertaining seeing Camilla and Charles like on screen together, and they're kind of in their own bubble, but I don't hate it. Like I kind of like that. And then the girls, the Coyote Ugly girls, like it was a very nice mix of different things that I enjoyed. I will say the Kevin thing just annoyed me as per usual, but otherwise I had a good time with it. I liked it. What did you think?
You have to have a good time with the show, and I'm going to try my best to like enjoy it. There were some things that you said you liked that I don't know if I was a fan of, but it's Riverdale. Let's get into it. So starting right off, starts off with Archie having a dream, or we're assuming that he's in a dream, and it shows him in war, and it's like in the moment where he finds Eric on the floor, like screaming and saying that he can't feel his legs. Are they there? He sees like a dismembered leg on the side, and that's when he like wakes up from the dream. And he hears
really
some
intense, like
really
to start off the episode like this. It made me feel some type of way. I was like, oh my God, it just
like they're serious.
Yeah.
So you hear he wakes up in a sweat, and then he hears some commotion downstairs. He goes downstairs, and it's like Eric is almost like sleepwalking. He's like doing this like movement. He's like trying to like cock a gun, and like he's like saying orders and stuff. And it comes to a point where like Archie tries to grab him and like calm him down, and he doesn't really like know he's awake or whatever. And he shoves him to the floor, or he's about to hit him, and Uncle Frank has to come behind him and like kind of like lock him up and put him down or whatever. So we get that scene. That was a little intense, right at the very beginning. And then it goes into Betty in a truck. She's on her mish trying to find the killer. And now we have Tabitha kind of helping her on the side, kind of giving her direction. She's looking at a map saying like, this is where you should go. You know, don't go too far. So as she's driving, she's talking to Tabitha, getting all these like things, and they find a truck and she's like, okay, he's stopping. I'm going to pull up beside him. So Betty does her thing. She kind of goes to the guy while he's peeing and like gives her like little thing like, oh, you want to like hook up? Like, what do you want to do? You want to do something today? Yeah. And she starts
her
like
trying to act sexy or like coy is like just, it doesn't
not
work
in this moment.
sometimes.
Usually she plays sexy, but this time I was like, girl, like you're not doing it. But anyway, he gets pulled in. He starts to walk toward his truck. And then that's when she says, do you have any cash? Like, is this a cash transaction? And then he's like, sweet entrapment.
No credit card. Yes,
Venmo that shit. So he like opens up the truck. It turns out that it's an FBI like SWAT team. And she's like, calm down. I'm an FBI.
I'm
she
FBI
like
too.
pulls out her badge. And then Glenn in the back of the truck is like,
so
she's not an FBI anymore.
Yeah, you
Stop
expired.
her.
Your thing expired. You quit.
So he comes out and basically lays it out, and they have a moment on the side where
why did she did she quit, or did she get suspended, or did she get put on like leave or something? I don't remember that.
I don't remember what she does at the end of that episode, because I'm pretty sure it's the episode where like everybody goes. It was like the episode before the hiatus where everybody like escapes the jail. I feel like maybe she quit. Maybe she did hand in her badge. Maybe she was forced to hand in her badge. I'm not 100% sure what the situation is. All I know is she's not a part of the
because
right
my
now.
assumption was that she was FBI. So when he said that, I was like, oh, she's not. Like I thought she was operating under that whole thing.
Right. I think maybe not. Maybe he
like
pulled
I knew
her
she
from
went
the case.
I remember I knew she went off and did her own case, but I thought she was still a part of like the FBI. But whatever. Anyways,
I don't know. Anyway, so then she kind of gets annoyed. She's like, oh, I should have stabbed you more when I had the chance. And because he's stopping the prostitutes, right? He's basically arresting the prostitutes, and she's pissed because she's like, there's a killer out there, and you care about more about the prostitutes themselves.
His investigation wasn't about the truck driver.
No,
it was just about prostitutes.
Yeah. He's basically
why would
just
the FBI be working in a small town against prostitutes? Like,
that's what
don't
I'm
you have
saying.
bigger fish to fry?
Well, that's why she's like, I wish I fucking stabbed you more.
Yeah.
And she's so pissed. So he says, hand over your gun and badge, or I'm going to arrest you. He seems pretty serious. So she does that reluctantly. Then there's a quick shot of Cheryl kind of like tromping through her woods, like the maple farm. And she sees this figure in the darkness. Oh! I can't even talk about it with getting tense. I'm like my jaw. She calls out and she's like, Kevin, is that you? And he like literally like puts his head, like thing down, and he like runs away. He doesn't even say like, oh, hey girl, like, sorry, it was me.
Hey.
And then she just like, she says some really sassy line, which I liked. And she was like, okay, Kevin, you fucking weirdo. And then she's like, bye. Yeah. So random scene. It comes up a little bit later, but we cut back to Frank and Archie talking over breakfast. And, Frank is talking about the fact that clearly Eric has PTSD. He's trying to deal with it. And he even asks Archie, like, do you have any PTSD? Have you been having any bad dreams? And Archie doesn't really respond to it, especially considering what we saw in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
He kind of denies that he's been having bad dreams. He's been fine. And then he goes on, and then Frank goes on to say that he's going to look into something to help out Eric. He's like, just give me a sec. I'll see what I can do. Then it cuts to your favorite couple, Veggie, Veronica and Reggie, at the jewelry shop. Is the jewelry shop called Pearls and what's it called? Pearls and...
I thought the jewelry shop was called something else. I thought that Pearls and thing was like...
It's like
guys, Veronica's storyline is such an absolute mess. Like...
crazy.
We made fun of the she-wolf this whole season, And the fact that she brought it back this week, I was like, girl, I thought you retired. What happened to selling a gem? Like, what happened to like all the other ventures that you were doing? Like,
this is why I have issues with this story.
No, anyway. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have issues with the story, but like, they're just cute to see on screen. You know what I mean? Like, they have that little like chemistry that like I like watching.
And like, you can't see her doing any of those things with anyone else. Like maybe Cheryl.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like they work well, and it works well with like where Reggie's trying to come in. Like he's trying to like start his own shit too.
So yeah, set up the scene because I feel like it was a cute premise. Like Veronica's basically back to being the sheep of Wall Street, right? She's like trying to like sell like stocks and like basic. And I'm like, why wouldn't you do this from the start though? Like if you were that good, if you were the she-wolf, you could have been doing this from the get-go, making a crap ton of money. You wouldn't have to find a gem from like South Africa and like pawn it off and then get it stolen and then have to send it to your ex-boyfriend to get it back. Like you could have just been selling stocks.
Like why wasn't this your first resort?
On top of that, you open a jewelry store in a town that is literally like poor AF and like non-existent, and the economy has like failed, but you decided to open up a jewelry store. You got robbed because you didn't have security.
Like, what are you doing?
You failed on all of these things, and then you said, "Let me go back to selling stock."
So she's talking to Reggie in this moment. She's lamenting and she's like, oh, I need to find new investors. I'm going to go back into the stock market. And she's going to, basically she says she's going to get back into aggressive investment banking. And she kind of schools Reggie on the fact that you don't need to be on Wall Street to do this. All you need is like a little black book of people.
You have to hustle and you have to call your clients. Hustle.
Just like Leonardo DiCaprio did in Wolf of Wall Street, the original storyline. So the next day Cheryl talks to Kevin and she basically says like, I thought you gave up like hooking up in the woods, like in Weirdo, since your last, the thing that happened where he got his ass beat.
In the woods, like can't go on like Tinder or like Grindr and just find a guy and go like, why do they always put him in the woods? Like
apparently there is an app. I've heard through the grapevines and of all the Twitter dark verse that there is an app that like literally does it for like hooking up in the woods.
In the forest. Oh my God. Like, that's hilarious.
Why?
Oh my God. I just mean for his character, like after this many years, like you would think he would like transition to something else.
I mean, clearly he's got some trauma around this situation. So like, I'll give it to him.
Okay.
Clearly he's got some trauma. So he's like, you know what, whatever, I'm doing this. And Cheryl basically says, Kev, check out our church. I've got a church now. I have a higher purpose now. And he's like, nah, I'm not down. And she said, I thought the same thing. I thought it was all phony baloney, but now I'm totally into it. I'm doing sermons now. I'm basically a minister and I'm healing people. Like, you should come. And I wrote down
very much like The Farm to me.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So I wrote that down exactly. I was like, Kevin already followed a cult. Like,
like I feel like we've done this. Yeah,
we already did this. Yeah. So I wasn't really a fan of him jumping into this. I get why they were connecting them because they literally have nowhere else to put Kevin. But it's just I do
love them together. Like, you're right. Like, I do love seeing them together because they sort of are like the B characters of the show.
Right.
But like, again, like nothing is happening. You have a character like Reggie who probably started off as a C character, became a B character. And now he's able to like literally like he's able to move on the show like as a number one a character. Like you invest in him and like you create these really great lines for him. They do amazing things for Reggie. Why can't they do it for Kevin? I don't understand why it's so different. Like,
I don't know.
It just feels very tired. It feels like they're chugging him along and like there's not. It's almost he even said he's like, I needed to leave. Like, I needed to go to New York. Like,
don't even get me started but, like, with that part of it. I was like,
ugh.
I can't even deal with you right now.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because I feel like it's almost like they're overthinking his character. Like everyone else has a smooth moment through, and like with Kevin, maybe it's because he's the gay character. They want to like wrap all the trauma and the blah 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 like into him, and it's just not like what he should be I don't know. Anyway,
but it's like there are other gay characters that could sort of hold that space for that trauma storyline. He could be the one that comes in and says, look, I had that before when I was coming out. I've dealt with it. This is how you should deal with it. Like spin it so that he's the strong character. He's the one that's like learned through life. He's the one that has lessons to give.
Exactly.
He'd be so much more interesting and like more of like this pivotal strong character, I think. And you could still tell those stories through him teaching that to everyone. Like, right. It's 7 years later, guys. He should have learned
7 years later.
Like,
that's
come
what
on. He was gonna have a kid. Like he was gonna have a baby.
Yeah.
Like,
and I know that it's like the comeback is gonna be the storyline, all that stuff, but it's also
is it though? Like he didn't even have a comeback before.
I don't know.
He never had a comeback.
Yeah, he really didn't. He really didn't. So I'm not, and that's the thing. Like, as much as we want to have faith that he's gonna continue on this like high trajectory in this storyline, anything can happen. It could be like the same shitstorm as last time.
Yeah, so no, I don't have faith. I'm just kind of like over his character. I truly am. Yeah. I really am. Like I'm over
It's unfortunate because I know in the very, like, I think we talked to Archie, dear Archie, a while ago, and he told us that in the comics, he had an army storyline. Kevin had an army storyline.
Yeah.
He was the one that went to the army and he came back to Riverdale. That would have been interesting to see. I mean, I know that it's with Archie because he's the main character and he's focusing on that. But like, imagine if Kevin had that storyline. That would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
And giving him something, anything. Like, I don't know.
And like, we'll talk about this later too, because like it does come back around, like his love for music and his love for, you know, the plays and
sure.
But it's almost like why, like he's getting to this so much later. And I get it. Maybe they shouldn't have time to deal with this like earlier on. Like it's happening 7 years later when he's already like an adult. He's already a teacher. Now he's coming to terms with it. So I don't know. Maybe all hope isn't lost. Maybe they will sort of pivot his character. And again, like maybe characters having their happy endings is like they do leave Riverdale. Like maybe his dream is to literally go to like Broadway and like be on Broadway, and like it's okay if he leaves the show because he's chasing his dreams and like he's done something.
I could totally see that being the situation. Even when he mentions it at the end of the episode, I was like, ooh, like does this mean that we're maybe going to see a departure by the end of the season of him just like dipping? And I'd be like, I was like, I'm kind of down for that. Like maybe you should just go.
Because I feel like once Tony comes back, and like don't forget, right now Tony's not in this. Otherwise, when Tony comes back, it's going to be Tony and Cheryl. Like that's all that Cheryl's time is going to be focused on.
Right.
And probably like this church thing. So it's like, again, where does Kevin fit? Like, who does he fit with? If he didn't even have this moment with Cheryl, who would that have been with? You know?
Exactly. Like right now, he's kind of relevant, but as soon as she comes through, back to being irrelevant for sure. So anyway, moving back to Pop's Diner, Tabitha and Betty are talking, and you know, now that she's gotten busted, she can't go back onto the lonely highway. So Tabitha comes up with the idea of luring people, like luring the truckers to Pops and getting them on there before she gets to Pops or before they get onto the highway.
Yeah.
So she's like, let's like, you know, lure them here to the White Worm. And then she mentions, have you seen Coyote Ugly?
Oh my God, I was dying. And it's so funny because in the promo, we said the same thing. We're like, that looks like Coyote Ugly.
I was like, there's that moment, like their shirts are almost exactly the same. They styled them exactly. So yeah, it was really funny to hear it. And I was like very excited about it. So
who says it first? Does Betty say it or does Tabitha say it? No, I guess Betty says it.
I think Tabitha's the one. Yeah. Betty says, like, have you heard of Coyote Ugly?
Yeah.
And then Tabitha's like, Can't Fight the Moonlight is my favorite song.
Yeah. She's like, I sing that all the time. I'm like, oh my God, this is me. Like, I love, first of all, that movie. If you guys haven't seen it, it's like such an iconic, cheesy, like bad, like, but so good film with Tyra Banks. And like, I don't even know who else was in it.
Is it Tara Reid? No.
I don't think it's like that blonde chick. I can't remember her name, and then the song, of course, the iconic song that comes with the movie. So
yeah,
I was really like, guys, at this moment, I'm like hype. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to play a rendition of Can't Fight the Moonlight. Yeah. Like, I'm ready. Like, I'm so excited. Down for this storyline.
It's not even close to that. It's not even like adjacent to
we don't even like go to the moon. Like, nothing even close to the moon. It's like the sun. It's like the complete opposite.
They did fight the moonlight. That's what happened. They fought the moonlight and they got that song.
And anyway, I was so excited that Betty even mentioned it. I'm like, this is sick. Like, this is gonna be so good. Like, what a good idea.
I was actually watching when I was watching with my partner. He said the same thing. He was like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited!" As soon as they said "Coyote Ugly," he was like, "I'm lit." I was like,
play a song, someone dance to it. Like, I'm ready. Let's go.
Not it. So anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But Archie and Eric come home, and he's on the phone still with these people because I guess they went there to check it out and like they got the wrong papers, so they sent him back home.
So I love this too. Really quickly, this is like a real life storyline. I think with anyone who has dealt with like parents being sick, grandparents being sick, anyone that has to deal with like the healthcare system, probably anywhere in the world. For him to come back and say, we do this all the time. We go there and they make us fill out 50 freaking forms. It doesn't go anywhere. They don't even like call us back. It's like, you feel it. Like, this is truly what happens to a lot of people when they get stuck in the system. Like, it is frustrating. And it does feel like no one actually has your back and like your best interest. So
agreed.
This storyline, honestly, by the end, I was like really blown away by it. Like, all of this.
Yeah, it really made its way back around for sure.
Yeah.
So he's still trying to figure things out for Eric. They get home and Frank surprises them with a dog. And I was like, okay. I mean, it does make sense. Frank does go on to say like, you know, it helps with trauma. They've said
totally.
So I'm like, that makes sense.
Totally. And like they connected it in the beginning because Archie was like, oh, they're like, oh, what happened to Vegas? He's like, my mom took Vegas to Chicago and then he like died. So that kind of like came. Yeah. I was like, oh. So then that kind of made sense too, that like now Archie gets a dog too because like he lost Vegas.
Sure. They do mention at one point in time like what happened to his ears, and Frank doesn't really say anything past that. He's like, oh, I don't know, something happened. So then we cut to Cheryl and Penelope singing while Nana is playing the organ in front of a congregation.
Yeah.
And literally like 2 bars in, Kevin's like, I'm out. And then he like
yeah.
Like Nana's like, dee. He's like, gone.
Like, duh. He's like, goodbye.
And Cheryl's like watching him from afar, being like, wow, you fucking douchebag. So then it cuts back to Veronica and Reggie at the jewelry store. And she, of course, has to say,
she's lit. When
I was the she-wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Ba. And I'm like,
so this is her issue, okay? Yeah, say it. Say what you're gonna say.
I'm just like, I want No Context Riverdale to come back to us and give us like every single meme where she says it, because it's now becoming so freaking annoying.
Somebody tweeted, they're like, can she stop calling herself the she-wolf? And I'm like, but it kind of
out of nowhere. Like, there's like, no one would say that. Like, no one ever says like, insane. When I was a quarterback on championships, like no one ever does that.
When I was the she-wolf of Wall Street.
Like, it doesn't even roll off the tongue easily. Like, it's like
and
7
also,
words.
Like, if you were the she-wolf, like you would have had so much money by now. You would have been so successful. Like, yeah. It's like you have this hype name, but like you're not even that hype in the industry. Second of all, okay, I could go like so
point number
points.
2.
She's like, so she's having issues with actually like locking down clients because everyone's like, oh, Veronica, you're no longer a part of a like company. You're just like part of like, you're just Veronica like Lodge. Person. You're just the she-wolf. Hold on. If your entire brand was based on the fact that you're the she-wolf of Wall Street, pretty sure your clients wouldn't care if you were part of a company or you were solo, because you're the she-wolf of Wall Street.
Because you're the she-wolf of Wall
Number
Street.
3, she hires Reggie because then he gets like whatever. She hires him. Then she's like, oh my God, we're getting so many clients now. Hold on. So you went to call your clients. You told them that you hired a random ass boy from your small town, hick town. You hired him as your like secondary employee, and now they're hiring your company.
Now they're ready to go.
Now they're ready to hire you.
I don't know.
None of this works. It's ridiculous. Like, don't even give me that. Like, don't give me those things. Just say she's a she-wolf and she's doing amazing.
She's doing
like, she's doing amazing. Reggie comes in. He wants to help her. Done. Like, I don't even need all of these extra lines and like wasting my time.
But yeah. So anyway, he goes on to say that like, he's really good at closing. He's like, I did it at my like dad's car lot like one time.
Like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, we saw that last week.
I can close a deal. And so he says like, if I close deals, like what is like what? And then she says like, I'll give you a cut. So like, then they become partners in this whole thing. and we're starting basically
again super
the Wolf
cute.
of Wall Street. It's like the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, essentially.
Yeah, like I like them together, so I'm not hating on like where this episode ends for the two of them because I think they're really cute working together. It's just like she just makes me laugh. Like her character is like ridiculous. Like
it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to deal with considering what the hell is going on in the rest of the show is what I'm about to say at the end of this episode.
Like Archie's dealing with like this trauma. And
Betty's
so
dealing
one
with
thing,
her dead sister.
Yeah, and someone trying to attack her with a chainsaw. Okay, the one thing I will say, I did miss a little bit of like this disconnect of like, it would have been nice if like she texted him even to check up on Archie. Like we missed those little, so instead of wasting my time talking about that you were the She-Wolf of Wall Street, you could have like added a little scene that said, hey Arch, like thinking about you, like hope you're good, like whatever. Even though they're not technically hooking up right now and they're not like sleeping together because he wants her to be divorced, it would still be nice to build these like foundational moments so that she's still checking up on him. Like there's none of that. It's like two different worlds and that's it. And then once they do end up getting back together or whatever happens, we're just supposed to believe they got back together. Like,
I mean, one might argue that the reason why she's like focused in on this is because she can get with Archie whenever she gets divorces, like her guy, but like that's like 17,000 steps.
No, but
away.
You know what I mean? Like I'm missing those little moments. I mean, you could say the same thing, even Archie and Betty, have like a short phone call, have a short text. Like there's like a very big disconnect that they do with these characters once they have their own storylines of the episode. I wish we got more just tiny moments. Doesn't need to be like long.
And especially because she's so disconnected from the rest of the characters. Even when she shows up at the Coyote Ugly moment, I'm like, you showed up?
That's like, the thing. I was like, how did you even know about the plan? When did they tell you? Why are you even here? Like, shouldn't you be on Wall Street? Like, it just feels very choppy. Like they filmed it and then they were like, oh, well, they didn't film the scene of her getting the call to go there. So it's like, anyways, little things. Okay.
Little things. Back to the White Worm. Betty and Tabitha basically ask Fangs if they can set up the bar like Coyote Ugly. They literally have like a floor plan of like what they want to do. They're like, I want it to look exactly like this.
But I love when she was like she's like, we're gonna do Coyote Ugly, and he's like the Tyra Banks movie.
Yeah. So funny.
They're like, yeah.
So anyway,
again, I'm so excited. I'm ready. I'm like,
lit.
Oh,
I'm ready to go. I'm like, oh my god, they said it again.
Yeah,
like super excited about it. Back at home with Archie, he's making another phone call for Eric, and there's still nothing. Then he looks over to Eric as he's like petting the dog or whatever, and Frank kind of comes up to him and he's like, "Oh, are you thinking about Vegas?" And Archie goes on to say, "No, I'm thinking about bingo."
I'm like, oh my god, how many dogs are in this episode?
What is this storyline? And then he's like, yeah, like he was a dog, he was like a part of the war, and then he like died in the war, like he never made it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are we talking about
at
Vegas
this moment
and then bingo and then like this new dog? Like
at this moment they lost me. This storyline this storyline lost me until like the last like 5 minutes.
Literally the last 5 seconds.
Why are we talking about 3 different dogs? Like what's going on right now?
It was too much. And I was just very confused. And like I understood, like to your point, I understood exactly what they were doing at the very end, but it's almost like you can't leave your audience this confused in this moment. Yeah. I'm like, why are you talking about a dog who died in the war? Like, okay.
Not even just that, like the whole dog fighting ring. Like, I don't think I needed a dog fighting ring.
Yeah, we didn't need any of those things.
Like,
but let's go back to that. So back to the jewelry shop. Reggie's trying to get the sale and he nails the sale. So he's like, yes, I'm on the board. Like,
love when
I think she makes a deal with him. Like, as long as you can close a sale, like you can be a part of this. So he nails his first sale. He's like lit. Then it cuts back to Kevin and Cheryl. He's so
cute. I can't. Like, he's really cute. Like, he's just really cute.
Then it cuts to Kevin and Cheryl talking. And basically Kevin says that he regrets breaking up with Fangs. Like, he's like, I regret it. I wish I could get back together with him. And we're having a party.
Like, do you regret it? Like, do you have regrets? He's like, a lot. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, you're so like, it's just so lame. Like, it's so lame. Like, like, come on. Like, just be happy. Go get your man. Live your life. Like,
yeah. So
like, wah.
Cheryl goes on to tell him that she needs to ask Fangs for forgiveness and try to talk to him. and reconcile the shit.
I honestly forgot what happened between the two of them.
I blanked out.
If
I didn't write these notes down, I wouldn't remember anything. So, of course, the next scene is, Kevin banging on Kevin's or Fang's door. Fangs opens it up and he's like, "Hey," and Kevin's like, "I really need to get this off my chest. I really need to talk to you right now." And first of all, I was a little annoyed by Kevin even just like coming in and being like, after you fucking left this guy, after you fucking broke up with him, you think that you have the right to run in on his house and be like, "I need to talk to you. It's really important. I need to talk to you right now. Let me in."
Yeah.
Like, I think that's very aggressive. I think that's very like poisonous. And I didn't like him in that moment just as a character. I was like, shut up. So he pushes him inside. And of course, there's another person. I was like, triggering. That's happened to me before. But it's like he walks in, and worst case scenario, it's Moose. Like Moose, throwback to Moose,
lumberjack Moose,
looking like a moose. He was
looking good.
I could barely recognize him.
No, I didn't recognize him at all.
And Kevin is like, "Moose is here. You're here with Moose." And Fang's trying to like de-escalate it. He's like, no, it's not like that. Like, we were just trying, like, we were hanging out and we just saw each other. And, why don't you like come chill? We can like have some wine and like chat. And Kevin's like, talk to both of my exes in one moment. Like, I'm going to pass on this. He leaves. He decides to leave.
What was the significance of that? Like, why bring Moose back for that? Like, is he going to be in the show now? Do you think?
I don't think that he's going to be maybe he's going to be part of the show again. It was kind of random having him back in the storyline, but at the same time, I was okay with it. I was like, it's fine. Yeah. I'm almost more excited about Moose's storyline than Kevin's at this point. So it's cool with me. So then it cuts back to Archie having a dream about the war. And it's kind of a continuation of what what we see in the very beginning of the episode. And he's like, he's holding on to Eric. They're in the bunker. They're in the little trench. And he's like, "Bingo." He's like calling out to Bingo. And he doesn't hear anything back or whatever. And he wants to save him. And Eric is like, "We're all dead. We're all going to die."
His acting was so good in these scenes.
It was really intense. Like, it was like a full war moment. Like, they really did like put that right
like,
in.
They're very much in World War I, which is very like, I'm sorry, it's funny to see like they're in trenches. Like, they wouldn't be in trenches, but like it's just
maybe it's like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
So anyway, in that moment, Eric wakes him up and he's like, "The dog is missing. Like, the dog is gone." I was like, "Eric, chill." So they go downstairs and they find the dog in a room. So like Eric basically could have just opened a door and found the dog. But Frank is like, "Yeah, it looks like he's like looking for a quiet place to hide. Like, he's just like looking for a quiet room." And I was like, okay, so the dog has trauma too now. So like everybody's got trauma in that house. Then it cuts to Veronica and Raji. Veronica and Raji having a little montage. And this is like the very Wolf of Wall Street moment. It's like, like literally it's like the montage of them like making a sale, like clicking the things and like putting them, like it's literally like a scene from the Wolf of Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says like, "We need more leads." And this is when Reggie says like, "Okay, well, if I do this, then can I get a more of a cut of this deal?" And she's like, "Okay, I'll give you like 10% instead of 5%. And he says that there are leads in Sodale. And she was like, "What?" And apparently, where my daddy works. Apparently, Hiram faked Sodale, so it doesn't even really exist. So he can keep digging for palladium. So he's using the investors' money that is going into Sodale to dig for the palladium. So there is no Sodale. It's not even developed yet after like, 17 years of them not doing anything. I'm like, that's kind of, I would have been sketched as an investor. I don't understand like, how Hiram.
Can we just remember that Hiram Lodge was basically like Bernie Madoff and had a Ponzi scheme back in New York City? Who would ever give their money to him and expect the money back? Like, if you do, you're an idiot. You're
a dummy. Yeah, exactly. He literally went to jail for that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Like, you forget that he was literally.
They want you to forget, but I ain't gonna forget.
You'll forget.
They want you to forget that was a part of the storyline
too. It's so true. So Veronica decides to go after his investors and get them to pull out of Sodale and then invest in her company. And I wrote down, worst idea of all time. Are you fucking stupid? You're talking about Hiram Lodge and taking his money? You're talking about
taking...
That's not
good, honey. That's not good. No.
Bad idea.
But you know what? Jill, in a sense, this is so the comics, right? Like, yeah, Reggie, Veronica versus Hiram. Like, it's just a cute little go, Veronica, go get your money. Your daddy's gonna write you a check at the end of the day. We all know that.
I think just like watching it though, like especially watching last episode and like hearing his backstory, I'm like, he is deathly passionate about getting this money.
He is, but he'd never do anything to her. He would never like hurt her.
But would he do something to Reggie? Is the real question.
Hell yeah.
That's where I kind of went with it. I was like, oh shit, I think Reggie's in danger because he's the one that gives up this information too.
And we did. Okay, yeah.
So I'm like,
see that.
Maybe. So then it cuts to Archie at home, and apparently at this point in time, Eric gets bitten. So Eric gets bitten by the dog. Yeah.
Like the dog that was hiding in the room?
Yeah. So at one point in time, the dog gets bit. And this is when Archie's like,
stuff going on.
I can't deal with this. But also like, not to shit on Eric's character, he spends the entire episode like whining and crying and complaining and freaking out, which I understand he's got trauma and they need to deal with his trauma. But like, this episode, it was like every 5 seconds, he's like, I got bit. Yeah. I'm freaking out. The dog's missing. Like, it was a lot. It was just a lot to like, I get it. They
didn't need the dog in there. They really didn't.
But I also just don't think that you need to have it beat us over the head that he's dealing with something. Obviously, he's dealing with something. We don't have to have him so manic and like freaking out at every 5 seconds.
But I think they're trying to show you that. Like that's maybe how it's supposed to make you feel, like a little uneasy and like kind of annoyed or almost being like, damn, this guy needs help. Like he's really like he's really just not stable, you know?
True. Fair enough. Good point. I'll take it. So in this moment, that's when Frank says, you know, like, I didn't tell you the full truth about this dog. I got this dog and there's a dog fight in Riverdale and he got rescued.
I wish I could have recorded my face when these things were happening. I'm probably like,
it's like the question marks and like the math marks. You're like, oh,
yeah, I'm like, huh?
Okay, cool. I think we wouldn't have known about the dog fighting ring if we didn't watch a trailer. So I wasn't as gagged. But then at the same time, I was like,
I forgot about it.
Here it is. Here's the moment that we were dreading to hear. And of course, Archie is like, wait 1 second, let me go get my bat suit. Like every second he has an opportunity, he's like, I'm gonna become Batman and I'm gonna go like kill everybody. So he gets really pissed off, he gets really frustrated, and he like runs off screen. Cuts back to Veronica and Reggie calling the Sodale people and doing that whole like montage of like getting the things. And she's like going in. She's like, fuck Hiram, his project is a lie. Like, you need to invest with me. Him. She literally like tells them all the tea. And I was like, you are going for the jugular, girl. You are not like, you cannot turn away from this like, moment. Like, this is some dirty moments.
Yeah.
I mean, she is spilling the tea. Like, she's telling the truth. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think he's going to like any of this. Mm-mm. So while she's on the phone with one of like the Sodale customers, he gets Hiram on the phone, and there's this interesting, I like the scene actually. Like,
that was
this back and forth where the guy's like, okay, let me call Hiram. So then Hiram picks up, and then Hiram's trying to like get him back, and he's like, oh buddy, how's your wife? Like, he's just trying to like, schmooze him. And Veronica ends up pushing back because he like promises him like 35% over 3 years or something like that. And then Veronica's like, I'll give you 40% plus a Glamour-J egg to close. And that like brings him over the edge. And he's like,
yes, Glamour-J egg.
Glamour-J egg to close. I'm like, first of all, where's all of her Glamour-J eggs? I feel like she's giving them all away at this point. I have no idea. So Hiram is pissed. It shows Hiram like lose it. He like chucks his phone at him at like the floor or whatever. And I'm like, the reckoning is coming. Get ready. You two, Veggie, you're in trouble. Reggie and Veronica cheers at the very end. And once again, she says, the she-wolf of Wall Street has returned or some shit like that.
Okay.
And I literally was like, if I made a drinking game out of the amount of times that she says she will for Wall Street, I would have been fucking drunk by now.
Totally. Do you sense chemistry? Do you sense sexual tension? Do you sense veggie actually happening in the next couple of episodes?
No, I don't sense a tension. Do I wish it was there? Yes, 100%, 1,000,000%. I didn't feel, I felt employee boss vibes. I wish there was that vibe. I wish there was a moment where we got a close up of like, you know, Reggie, like maybe giving her a look. They've had history. They've had like emotional chemistry history in the past. And I think this is the perfect time to do it. And maybe it's almost like too on the nose. That's why they're holding off. But like, I got nothing. I literally got nothing from it. How about you?
You know what? I think you're right. You're right. They have a history and they never talk about it. Like, especially a guy like Reggie who kind of like shoots the shit. Like he's kind of just like fun guy. Yeah. He would kind of make a joke to be like, haha, like when we used to hook up, like, haha, when we used to like, you know, whatever, like throw in those like little cute, like things that like, she could be like, no, ew, like, I don't want that right now. Right. Even that would like put you on a level of like, we are exes. We used to hook up at some point.
Yeah.
We get none of that.
None of it.
Nothing in the dialogue. I will say like he gives her looks, but maybe that's just because Charles Melton is like in love with Cammy in real life. So I feel like that might be what we're seeing. But you're right. Like otherwise, like there's not a lot of moments. Like even at the end when they cheers, I was like, oh, let's get like a cute little like, hey, you're good kind of look, you know?
Play some music.
Nothing. It was like nothing. It was just like cheers. It was like cool.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, to your point, maybe like this is the beginning, obviously, of like something larger, their partnership, and there might be a moment where they're like working late and
I do feel like Riverdale doesn't like they don't put characters together if it's for no reason. Like there's usually a romantic like connection, that comes from it or some sort of spark or something. So I do see something happening definitely in the future or the next couple of episodes. But I just wish it was a little bit more like cookie crumbs along the way so that it kind of builds up to it more like naturally. But yeah.
Speaking of an unnatural pairing, Cheryl and Kevin are talking at Thornhill, and Kevin is really sad about what happened with him and Fangs. And Cheryl imparts some really good advice. Again, she's like the guru of all of Riverdale, all of life. She basically says,
like, what would Kevin do without her?
Instead of focusing on yourself, maybe focus on others. It'll fulfill you a little bit more. And she's like, as a side point, I'm actually helping, you know, Tabitha and Betty tonight on this like thing that has nothing to do with me. And like, that's me helping other people. And she actually says like, you should come along. Maybe you can help too. So I guess he decides to come because he's in the next scene where Betty is basically talking through the entire plan. Tabitha, Kevin, Veronica, Cheryl, even Alice is there. And so is Reggie.
I'm ready for
Betty.
It's Coyote Ugly moment.
We're ready to go. Kevin is waiting. Kevin's supposed to be going through the trucks with like Reggie as everyone is distracted while the girls are dancing on the tables. And and then Alice is like the person who's like the point of contact to like do all the signals to be like, go now, you know. So then it comes to Archie, Fangs, and Eric, and they're kind of coming up with a plan themselves, because at one point in time too, like they're like, why isn't Fangs here? Like, isn't he the manager of the White Worm? And she's like, oh, he's doing something with like a dog ring or something. And I was like, why are people just randomly just saying like, oh yeah, there's a dog fighting ring, he's helping with that? Like, why isn't anybody just focusing on one thing and then helping each other out? Anyways, whatever. We see Archie, Fangs, and Eric talking. They're coming up with an idea. And originally, I think Fangs even says like, now we can bust them with, you know, Sheriff Keller, and we can get your like uncle into it. And Archie's like, I don't want this scumbag arrested. I want him to hurt. And I was like, first of all, I think that's like a little unlike Archie. I feel like he doesn't like to kill people. He doesn't like to like go on that side. I mean, he's a vigilante, like, but it almost like was a little out of character for him to be this angry about a dog fighting ring.
I think it's justified at the end when he does say like, bro, what's wrong with this town? So like for me, I believed it all and I kind of just bought it because it all came back to at the end.
Sure. Yeah. It all like
his really, frustration with everything.
It all was made up at that very last point for sure. Let's talk about this White Worm moment.
Oh
this
my
coyote,
God.
More like Coyote.
What did they call it? what do they call it? Like something foxes? Like not coyotes, but it's like foxes.
Something like that. I don't know. So like anyway, dancing, singing on the bar. And let me just start this off by saying that all the women on this screen were beautiful.
Beautiful.
They did what they were told to do. Great voices.
Listen, I'm gonna call Riverdale tomorrow and I'm gonna say, do you need my bank account? Because I will pay you next time to use that mother effing Leanne Rimes song. It's Leanne Rimes. How effing expensive can this song be? If you guys can't even use the song that Tabitha refers to in the beginning, like it felt so flat to me. This whole scene felt so flat. I was so excited. I wanted like 15 seconds of this song and I couldn't even get it. It was like some other song. And
I feel like it was a musical song.
Guys,
let us know in the comments if you know what the song was. I didn't even care enough to look it up
because
I was so annoyed.
It was terrible. It was like, y'all hyped this up. It was not even the bar song. It was like a pop song. Like
it wasn't a bar song. That's exactly it. It was like, not a bar song at all.
I will pay for the music. Just let me know. Like, it's okay. I'll pay Leanne Rimes.
They could have even done like a country song and like done like some sort of like cute little rodeo
or like
moment.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It
like,
doesn't even have to be that song, but it needed that like raunchiness, that like bar sound. And like it wasn't. And it just like, didn't go. No.
Like sometimes
your music people
I just I don't know. I don't even want to say it because like honestly, it's like literally no offense, all love. Like the choreographer getting them to be like, okay, and then we're gonna go. And then we're gonna go. Like, guys.
Look, they can only do so much.
The song didn't even connect with the dance moves.
No, because the song comes after. Like they don't even know what song they're gonna be approved for. That's why.
But they're dancing to something. Like I don't know, man.
Here's the thing.
Like
here's the thing with me. If you're gonna hype up a moment from an iconic movie like that, and you're gonna talk about it, and Tabitha is gonna reference that song, and you're really going for that like moment, go balls to the wall. Like get the song or get a song that fits that copy the choreography from the movie. Like guys, you guys go like half-assed. Like you guys go half there. You reference the movie and then it just falls from there. And it's like,
we got
then
so
why
excited.
even do that?
I was so excited about it. And it just didn't, nothing came.
I literally got into the car this morning, went to the grocery store and blasted that song just so I could like relive the moment, like in real time. I'm like, I did not get this moment last night.
Yeah, exactly. So
it was terrible. It was terrible. It was really bad.
I wrote down LMAO, the sound effects of the slapping and the whooshing. Like, y'all need to turn, it's called volumizing. You turn it down a little bit and then you bring everything else up. I know that they do it on purpose at this point. I know that they do it.
Yeah, it's like for
it was just
effect.
so funny to watch it because it was like whoosh, 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 slap. Like so
Again, I think I would have loved it if it was the song in the background and like it all was vibing the same way. I think I would have loved that too. I would have been like, yes, because that is part of that, like dancing on the bar, like you're, like.
But it's literally like the song was a Broadway song, and then they had these sexy girls doing these sexy dances, and then they were singing like a Broadway show tune, and I was like,
yeah, no, it's just, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
Out for me at all. Like that, I was like, they looked amazing. But outside of that, like I looked at Cheryl at one point and I was like, she's beautiful. She's so beautiful.
Actually, okay, I'm gonna do this for our fans. I'm gonna go edit that scene and put the song on as the overlay and just let it rip and see what we get.
Maybe don't put it on our story, but
no, we won't be posting it on Twitter anymore.
We'll find a place for it, but we'll show it to you guys. Oh man. So as they're doing the dances,
even Twitter wouldn't even care that we used it. They're like, Leanne Rimes, 1999. Yeah, take it. It's free.
Like, please use it. So as they're distracting everybody, Kevin and Reggie go through and they find one that has like blood on the side of the truck, the inside of the truck.
It's like a glob of blood.
It's like 2 drops, like not even. And so they call Alice, and Alice is like she's doing some like super like hand commands, and that's when Betty comes out and she's like, open up your truck, I'm the FBI. And he's like, what's the problem? And she opens it up. They see like the blood. And he's like, I had a delivery for cows. Like that's cow's blood.
Bro, even if you had a delivery for cows, like you wouldn't have blood on your truck. Like you can't, it's like sanitation. Like you can't have that. You would have to clean it.
But it just happened like yesterday. So maybe he's like, I thought
it was just so cheesy. I was like,
it made sense to me, but also like
that.
The blood on the wall looked like a gunshot. Like it looked like someone got shot
splat.
And it exploded. I was like, did that drip out of a box? Like,
look, at this point, they ruined my Coyote Ugly moment. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I'll go with this. Down. Yeah, I'm like shut down. Yeah,
you're like, okay, cool.
I will say I did like the sequence. Like I did like what they were doing with the truckers.
Yeah,
I bought it. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good idea, but I'll tell you one of the holes that happened right at the very end.
Okay.
So as they're doing the song Can't Fight the Moonlight, in my mind it's Can't Fight the Moonlight. So as they're singing Can't Fight the Moonlight, back at the kennel, they break into this trailer park. Like Archie like breaks the door down. He goes in, he's like, hey, are those your dogs? And then he's like, yeah, you want to buy one? And he like rips him out of his chair, throws him on the floor, and he's like, we're gonna have a real dog
almost
fight.
Killed this guy. Like I thought the guy was dead.
He like crushes his skull before he leaves. Like it was very intense with the sound effects again.
It was very intense.
He beats his ass. He's like, if you ever do this ever again, like we're gonna kill you, whatever. And then he leaves. Like both Fangs and Eric are like, what just happened? Like that was a very intense moment. So he just leaves. That's the end of the dogfighting ring. Like I'm like, you can't just go after the one person who sells the dogs. You have to like go after the ring itself. So like you think that he'd be like, tell me who your customers are. Tell like, like actually follow through with it.
Yeah. Instead of beating up the one guy.
I'm gonna beat you that one person out.
I thought he was the ringleader though. I thought that's what Frank said. No?
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm also just like, you go after anyway, whatever. I guess they're just trying to wrap it up into one pretty bow. I don't want a long storyline of a dogfighting ring anyway, so I'm fine with that. So then it cuts back to Pop's Diner. Betty's like, I guess we didn't get anybody, but we have like 53 names, phone numbers, and license plates of a bunch of truckers. So like, at least we have that. As a side moment, before like we find out what happens, I'm like, if you were the serial killer killing a bunch of people, do you think that you're going to put your real name, your real license plate, and what? No one's doing that. No one is doing that.
So stupid.
Like that is not a plan. That isn't the plan.
Hey, Betty. Can you just write your name and email address on this piece of paper?
Can you give me your SIN number as well?
Yeah. Like, have you killed anyone in the last like 4 weeks?
Please keep in contact.
No, you're like, right.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, especially when she was like, I guess the best thing out of this is that we got these. I'm like, those are useless. Those are probably all lies. Like,
and I think it just would have made sense if like the whole plan was like for them to come to the parking lot while they're inside, they just go check their trucks. Like, even if it was something like that, that would have just made more sense. But like to collect everyone's like name and number, it was like, this isn't COVID. Like you can't just like get all that information.
You can't like register where you've been. Like, what is this nonsense? So as she leaves, like everything's closed up. Some guy rolls up in his truck and he's like, hey, I wanted to check out the show. And she's like, sorry, we just closed up. And he's like, oh man, I wish I would have seen it. And she decides to break her own cardinal rule, which was don't get into anyone else's truck. Yeah. She literally says that to everybody else.
As soon as she said it, I'm like, she's about to break that.
She's about to break that cardinal rule.
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, I'll come with you. Like, well, we can have some fun. So she gets into the truck. As she's like rolling in, she texts somebody. I'm like, thank God she's at least texting someone.
Yeah, I was like, good thing, girl.
Take a picture of the license plate. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like do anything.
Like anything. So she sends this text to Tabitha to be like, I'm in a truck right in this moment. Go follow him. Like you would think that she would have been like, let me just go quickly grab my stuff from inside. Like,
anyways,
and then
she sends the text. She tells Tabby. Whatever. She sends it. She gets in. Cool. I'm like, okay. As long as she sends the text, then we're okay.
We're okay.
We're okay.
So in the truck, this is like red flag already. He's like talking about his grandma and like she's dying. And
I really thought it was going to be one of those moments where like they lead you down that road, but then he's like totally normal. Like that's the way I was going with it.
Right, same. But
because he was like, I love seeing people, like, he's like, isn't it amazing seeing people die? Like
people die.
Their life just like dwindles out of their eyes. And I was like, I feel like he's just like, they're gonna like trick us, you know?
I think that anyway, we'll talk about that at the end because I definitely think there's something fishy about this whole situation.
Oh,
because at the same time, I'm also just like, what serial killer? If you were a serial killer, let's say theoretically, you would not be like, oh, I love watching the
exactly.
life fall out of people's eyeballs. Anyway, can I go pee now? Like, who would think that that's okay?
Unless like, okay, first of all, I don't think he's a TBK. Like, he's not that guy.
No,
he just might be like another sicko.
I don't even think he's that. But anyway,
really?
We'll get into that. So he says he wants to pee and stop over. She's like, sure, cool. As he goes to pee, he pulls out a knife, goes around the car, and it turns out that he is about to try to kill Betty. He tries to open the door, but as he opens the door, she like kicks it down.
Yeah.
He falls back, and she's like, Tabitha, come through. Like,
come right now.
Come right now. I just stopped him. We got him. She's so excited. And then, of course, as soon as she hangs up the phone,
she turns her back. Like, bro, are you 2 stupid? Seconds. Like, look at him and then make the phone call. Like, why are you like? And then like you make the phone call. Like,
okay, the guy that just tried to kill me. Like,
now he's gone.
He's gone now. What's gonna happen now?
Like, I'm so over these cheesy like moments.
It was very like
dude, she's an FBI agent. Like, she should know how to handle that. Like,
exactly. So she's looking for this guy. She can't find him anywhere. He comes back out with a fucking chainsaw. So like suddenly we see him like,
I have to say this was one of the best scenes I've seen, I think, in the whole series. The way this happens, right? Like, they shot it very like, I didn't know. Obviously she's not going to die, but I'm like, I don't know what's coming next. Yeah. And it was one of the moments that like, I was very like, it just was very scary to watch. And like, I was like at the edge of my seat. I was like, holy shit. Like,
I don't know, man. I
don't know why for me it was. And then like the idea that like, so he chases her. She gets into the car. Like, you're an idiot. Like, just run down the street. Like, what are you getting into the car for? She gets in the car. She closes the passenger door. And I'm like, well, obviously he's going to come from the driver's side. He doesn't. You hear him like doing something. He gets to the top of the truck and cuts into the front. And I'm like, I was freaking out. And she's trying to get like, it was a cool scene. Like, the way they filmed it and like everything that went down, it was definitely intense. And they've done like really cheesy scenes like before, but this one was like, I don't know. This one felt different. I was very scared. It was just the idea of like being stuck on the side of the road in the dark. This guy has a fucking chainsaw.
The concept of it was scary to me.
Yeah.
The execution of it was not scary to me.
I like the way they filmed it.
I just felt like, for one, as soon as like the chainsaw comes down, like it's definitely not on. Like, it's like there were just moments where I was watching it and I was like, it doesn't feel like there's a sense of urgency. Like, we've seen Betty like break down and freaking out. She was like,
oh no,
like,
I don't know. I don't know.
I didn't get it from her, but I don't know. Well,
for me, it was scary. And the idea that you're stuck in this box and he's coming into the box, like, it was just very scary.
It is like,
because she had nowhere else to run. So that idea of that was like, it was shot like really nice. But yeah, anyways, what does she end up doing? She gets out.
So she ends up like crawling to the other side, getting back out of the truck. She finds like a wrench, and this is the part that really took me out of it. He's like coming at her with like this thing. She like fucking throws
a wrench. She throws a wrench
at him, and he's like, Dink! And then he like passes out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know wrenches are heavy, and I know that's like something that you can actually hit somebody with, but it made me laugh.
But like, he could have easily been like he could have dodged it. Like, I thought it was like a spear or like a special tool that she had that like goes really quickly.
Yeah.
But exactly. I didn't know, because I couldn't see that it was a wrench. I'm like, okay, yeah, he could have just been like dodging a wrench. Like, he like she perfectly hit him square in the head, and like he went unconscious. Just like, that part was like,
it was a little much. Anyway, so that's when he's knocked out again officially. Tabitha rolls
now she's
in.
Watching him.
At a moment, actually, I thought that like the real TBK was gonna come up, but it was really just Tabitha rolling up in the car. So she comes up, she's like, we got him. Then it cuts to Eric, and he comes in to talk to Frank. And he's like, oh yeah, well, you know, Archie, he like went and popped off on this like leader of the dog gang or whatever, the dog fighting gang. And Frank is like, I'm not really surprised considering like what happened to your dog Bingo. And Eric is like, Bingo?
He's like, who the hell's Bingo?
He goes on to say like, yeah, like Archie told me about your dog in the war and how he died. And Eric drops the bomb that Bingo wasn't a dog. He was a part of his crew.
Like he was a person. I was like, I'm gone.
That was a gag. That was a gag. For sure. But then also I was just like, Bingo? Like they really
like you named your kid Bingo.
They really were trying to like turn us into a different direction.
Yeah, sure. It's true. Yeah.
So anyway, cuts to
Betty. And like, why do you make that into a dog? Like, if you like, you know what I mean? Like, he could have just been like a human that died.
Yeah, it's almost like, well, obviously, I guess it's showing that like Archie's like burying everything. He's burying every single one of his emotions. So I was like, oh wow, that's like deep.
No, I liked it. I like that twist for sure. Because then I was like, all that crazy stuff about the dog storyline makes sense now. Like I'm
how
okay
he popped off, why he popped off about it. So then it cuts back to Betty and Tabitha talking. Now they have this guy like unconscious. They've like put him somewhere. And she says that she wants to take him somewhere to interrogate him before they hand him over to the police. And I wrote down, do we think that he's a truck stop killer? It almost felt too perfect. Do you think it was Glenn who might have set this up?
I really like your theory that it might be him setting it. I definitely don't think he's the TBK because that's like way too easy. We're still early on. I feel like that's not him. But I love the idea that like he was a setup. It's just like set up to do what? Like, did he set him up to like kill her?
Or to
scare her?
Yeah, I'm wondering if like I don't think it's a coincidence that we saw Glenn in this episode trying to like stop her to do whatever she was doing on the highway. In the same episode that she catches the guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? It just
for sure. For sure.
Very convenient.
And he's watching her, you know?
He's watching her. And like, it just felt a little too convenient. Even though like what we were saying earlier, like who talks about their grandma dying and like life coming out of her eyes and whatever. Does he like, is he there sent to kill her? I think so. Like, I think that he was probably sent to like kill her, but I don't think that he's a TBK. And I do think that this is leading to something bigger because to your point, way too easy. This like wrapped up way too easy if he's really the like the serial killer.
Agreed.
Also, like no serial killer would have killed someone like that. Like none of it made sense to me. Like who comes onto the other side, stabs the person while they're in the car, in your car, and then like what you proceed to do what with him? Like it just didn't feel like what the truck stop killer was doing to the other women, right? Even anyway. So there's that. That's my theory. It's probably somebody setting it up. Maybe it's Glenn. I think it's probably Glenn. Cutting back to Archie and Frank the next morning, and he talks to Archie about Bingo, and it's a really powerful moment where he, you know, he's like, I just want to see like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And Archie's like, he's like, what happened with Bingo was not your fault. Like you couldn't do anything. If you tried to save him, you and Eric could have died. And Archie was just like upset about it. And he's like, you can't save everyone. And Archie goes on to say, that feels wrong. Everything feels wrong. I'm trying to save this town, but it's so corrupt. It feels like there's nothing worth saving here. And it ends off with Frank saying, don't lose hope, Archie. And I really love this moment for many reasons. I think the one that like hit me the most was even like watching it back. I was like, this is something that he would have gotten from Fred. Like, this is 100%. Something that he would have had that moment where he could have that conversation. And I will give it up to the writers to have had to deal with, you know, like Luke Perry's, like losing Luke Perry and then having to insert a new character. It's hard. It's hard to have that person come back in to almost like replace them in that role. And they did it a really, really good job bringing him in.
For sure. I 100% agree. And I have to say, Fred would have been obviously amazing, but Frank brings a level of like trauma that Fred I don't think could have brought to the scene. Like, I think Fred would just be like, you can't save everyone's son. It's okay. Like, just do your best, like whatever. But like when Frank talks to him, it's like, Frank's seen things. Like he knows the level of darkness that you get to when like you are like someone in the military and you deal with these kind of things. So he can like get to him on that sort of level. It's totally believable. I love their relationship. I love that he's in the show with him.
Yeah, same.
So much more powerful than like, I'm sorry about Mary. Like it wouldn't have done anything. Yeah. And it's so, again, it's true to who Archie always is and always will be. How do I save everyone? How do I save the town? How do I save the world? Like that's his like mission, but like he needs to realize that like you can't save everyone. Yeah. And it was powerful. Yeah. And I like what you want to say too about the scene of like how he says Riverdale is just like messed up. Like it's so corrupt. Like you hear the exhaustion in his voice and like the desperation. And he's like, what the hell is wrong with this town? Like, I'm trying to like fix it. And like the next week it's like something else. And it's like almost like the audience, like us being like frustrated. It's like, okay, how many bad things are going on?
Dog fighting ring. Like he's upset about it. Like
his level of frustration was almost like our level, and I just felt it. And KJ Appa's acting it's always been amazing. This one, he beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I watch him and I get chills, and it's emotional, and it was really, really powerful.
Totally. So then it cuts to
Cheryl and Kevin.
Powerful moment. Cheryl and Kevin. Cheryl and Kevin in the lounge, and Kevin gets the Teacher of the Year award, and Cheryl's like, "Oh my god!"
I was so excited for him. I'm like, "Oh my god, Kevin!" He's like, "This sucks." I'm like, "Oh my god!" So you get an award,
why do you
and
hate yourself
still
so much?
Debbie Downer. I can't. It was.
He's
too
like,
much.
This award. That
you know what this means? That
teacher?
I was a failure.
It means that I haven't accomplished anything. I'm just a fucking teacher in fucking Riverdale. I fucking hate this place. I should have been in fucking New York. Like, he just goes off about the fact that he's like, this is not what I want my life to be. And I'm just like, first of all, where did this all come from? No one asked you to stay in Riverdale after graduation.
Bro, Archie's dealing with seeing dead bodies, and you're complaining that you did not go to New York City. Get your fucking bag, pack your bags,
get the fuck out of here,
and leave. We don't want you here. Nobody wants you here.
Go. Just go. Josie left. You could have fucking gone and hung out with her in New York.
And you're sitting there and you're complaining about your life when Archie is dealing with that.
Get out of here.
Keep sitting down, Kevin Keller. Keep sitting down.
And like, not to constantly bring it back, but y'all writers love you, but I also hate the fact that you fucked his character up so hard.
Yeah, they did.
And there's no coming back from so much of
and I think you're so right when you said how you're like, it's like they're trying so hard to make it right, but it's not working.
And nothing's
I think that's
And a part of me does feel, in all honesty, that like what he says might be his final destination. He might just be like, I'm out. I'm going to go. I'm going to be gone from Riverdale.
The thing is,
but I just like, because that's the thing. It almost feels like now they're band-aiding. They're realizing how shitty his storyline was, that they're band-aiding all of it. When if it was really the solution in the very beginning, he would have gone to New York with Josie. He would have done all these things already. Instead, like suddenly we're getting this character who's like, I hate Riverdale. This is a failure. I never wanted to be here in the first place. Like, it all came out of nowhere to me. And I was like, I get what you're trying to say now, but why didn't he say this before? Why didn't we get any of this feeling of like anxiety of staying in the town? Every single character went through something like that, from Jughead all the way to Cheryl. Like everyone went through something. Kevin suddenly out of nowhere has this meltdown about the fact that he got an award for being the best teacher. I was like,
you're totally right. And I think that I have definitely said this in previous podcasts. I know I have. His thing, even when before like the flash forward, his thing was always like to do with guys. Like his issues and things were always to do with guys. It's like, can we just leave that for 1 second? And can we focus on his personal development as like a human being, like mentally, emotionally, without a guy, without a relationship, just Kevin himself? Can he develop in that way? And they never gave him the opportunity. It was always like linked to a romantic character, whether that was Joaquin, whether that was Moose, whether that was Thing. It was always another guy. Like, and now it seems like he's realizing that like his dream is beyond the town. Okay. So hold on. Now your issue is with the town. So now you're not happy with where you are, like physically. It's like, I don't know.
And like you never thought about this 7 years later, like after all the like
you were gonna have a baby in the town, like you were okay with that, like that was all fine.
You were fine with that, and then you suddenly just had like a break in your moment and was like, I just want to do something completely different. I don't know. I didn't believe any of that.
Yeah.
Very frustrating to watch. Cheryl goes on to say, like, I have an idea. So he's like, okay, I'm game. Cuts back to the El Royale, and lo and behold, everybody sets up like a little cute little dog shelter where they're like getting people to adopt the dogs that they found.
Yeah.
Really, really cute moment. You know, seeing Archie happy in this moment made me so happy.
Yeah.
When he was like, I love this, I'm so happy. Like seeing like Frank and Eric like really cheer him up. Like, I think that we get these moments so often where Archie's just like so like dark. It's so sad. It's so hard. He's always fighting. Finally, like actually seeing his smile on his face. I know this is so cheesy, but like legitimately, I felt excited for him.
Yeah.
That he loved this moment so much. So Eric goes on to say that they're going to keep the dog and they want to call the dog Bingo. And I was like, that name is more appropriate for a dog. So yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Like, that sounds like a great idea. Cuts to Cheryl and Penelope talking in church. They're doing their sermon. And Cheryl goes on to say, we are going to sing a song to get this together, to close this up. And I am going to get my friend, my new musical director, Kevin, to sing with me. So they sing this song from, what did they say it was from?
It was actually apparently
Superstar.
Oh, and then I think they did sing a song that was from Coyote Ugly. I saw that on Twitter at some point.
Oh,
like one of the songs was from that movie. And I was like, well, nobody cares about that song. Everyone wanted the Can't Stop the Moonlight, Can't Fight the Moonlight, whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't this song because this was from Jesus Christ Superstar.
By the way, how do you feel about all of these musical breaks? Do you like them? Is it needed?
Really good question. When they did it for Coyote Ugly and it was a Broadway song, I got really pissed.
Yeah.
So I blacked out and I got really annoyed about it.
Yeah.
If that was the Coyote Ugly song, if it was like a sexy song, I probably would have been down for it.
Yeah.
But then at one point in time, I'm out here watching Betty sing this like musical song and she's doing all these gyrating moments. And I'm like, 7 years later, you guys are still doing music and singing and dancing to like feed into the main storyline. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess. And again, I would have completely ignored all of that if you guys got the rights to the right song.
Yeah.
And got that shit down.
100% agree with you for that one. For that one, yes. For
what
this,
do you think?
For the Kevin and Cheryl, I hate it. It's effing annoying. I honestly feel like, no, I hate it. It's really annoying. Like, why are you guys singing? Like, it's just like cut to, I think because I'm just annoyed at that whole storyline as it is. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand where they're going. I feel like it's like The Farm 2.0. So I'm not really into it. But also I feel like they're like, Casey Cobb, the actor that plays Kevin Keller, was like, y'all need to put me in like more scenes. And they were like, you want a singing part? Here, sing. I feel like it got to that point where he was getting upset with the amount of like scenes that he wasn't getting. And I think they were like, hey, let's make him sing. Let's make him happy this season. And I think that's what, because he is a Broadway, like he's a musical actor. Broadway
trained. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that is what happened behind the scenes. I could be wrong.
I get that. I totally get that. And they want to like, but I just almost feel like they're like trying to fit his acting abilities into the character, and like sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like maybe don't get him to sing a song, maybe give him an episode where,
but that's what it is, right? Like he's gonna love performing and like putting on a show now, and he's gonna find his like resurgence and like maybe.
But he's out here acting as if he wasn't the drama fucking teacher of Riverdale.
Exactly.
All the time.
Exactly.
Like, you've been doing these things, so like it's not like it's a complete departure from what you've literally been doing this whole time.
He's just miserable with himself. Like he needs to heal himself before anything else is ever gonna make him happy.
Yeah.
Like. That's it.
Also, the one standout character in this entire scene was Penelope fucking Blossom.
She was amazing.
I fucking loved her at this moment.
She brings that like comedic relief that you're just craving in that moment. Yeah. I'm like, ugh. And then
it was kind of funny because it's almost as if like she's not even 100% on.
Yeah, like
he kind of keeps like looking at it and be like, what the fuck is happening? So it's almost like the audience who's kind of annoyed about the storyline is like, the fuck is happening?
Yeah, and I almost feel
I'm gonna take a sip. She like just drinks, like she chugs like some wine at one point. I was dying.
she very much feels like they're rolling, they're shooting the scene over here, and Natalie Bolt was over here being like, are you guys done or what? Like she feels like she's on the outside of the scene, and it's just the perfect amount of like this like I don't care attitude. And she's hilarious. I love her
reaction shots were great. I loved her in this scene, and I'm excited to see what that dynamic, like what they're going to play with. Like, is Penelope going to get jealous? Is she like, what the hell is this guy doing here? And I also still like, we haven't even really talked about the overarching storyline with like this church situation. What do you think it's all about? We'll say like,
I have no idea.
1 minute.
I literally have no idea. No idea.
I was like, is Penelope trying to do something diabolical once again? Because at the same time, I'm like, if she does something diabolical again, I'm like, how many times does she have to do something crazy and psychotic before this girl goes to jail forever? I don't know what her deal is. I don't know what her game is right now, but let's see what happens. At the very end of the song, Kevin does seem happy, and I really hope that he finds whatever he's looking for, because like, I don't know, whatever. Cuts to Kevin and Fangs talking at the White Worm, and Fangs basically, he does admit at this point in time that like Moose and Fangs are now together, and he didn't want to hurt his feelings. And he
hold on, they're together?
Yeah, he basically says like, I didn't want you to find out that way. We were trying to figure out a way to tell you.
Oh my god, I thought they were just friends.
Yeah, no. He was.
Oh, that's tight. That's kind of tight, actually.
It's tight, but at the same time, I'm also like, you broke up with him.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah.
You did it. Yeah. Like he has the right to move on. Yeah. And I think it makes sense that Moose is back into it, because like there's literally no other gay people in fucking Riverdale.
To come back to town.
Like they had to bring one from like another team.
I'd love if Joaquin came back. He was so cute.
That was so good. What happened to him again?
He just like went on the bus and like dipped.
No, he died.
When did he die?
Like, when did he find if Joaquin came back like as a zombie?
When did he die? I don't remember that.
He gets shot or killed because he tells
like
the
off
truth
screen
about the Gargoyle King. Yeah, because remember he was looking for the Gargoyle King. So I guess Penelope killed him. Like, which you'd think that like Kevin would be like, I will never forgive you for
there you go. See? All these loopholes.
Found another one, guys. So Kevin goes on to say, if you and Moose are happy, then I'm okay too. Like, I'm happy for you. We can definitely be friends. So, okay. I mean, I guess they're not together anymore, and who knows what's going to happen with his baby now. I have no idea. Reggie and Veronica, like, I can't even ask you any more questions because like, I'm so over it, but like, anyway, I don't even care about the fact that like they might get back together, because I was like, do you care?
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. I'm down for Veggie. I am down for that, just because I feel like their chemistry. I do love seeing them on screen together. And I do think they are so a part of the comic book. Everyone else is literally batshit crazy doing their own storyline. Yeah. They're the only ones really holding us into the comic book world.
You're talking about Reggie and Veronica. I was still talking about Kevin and
Oh, sorry. I thought we left from them. I'm like ready to be done with them.
That's what I meant. I was like, I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I don't care about them.
You're like, I don't care if they get together or whatever. Yeah, Veronica and Reggie, I 100% want them to get together at this point. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. I'm really interested to see if they just like dive right into it. Again, going back to what we were talking about, I wish they introduced it this episode even a little bit to like give us some, like clue as to where this is all going. Is it just going to be a business thing? Anyway, they close one more final deal. The company's called Pearls and Posh. I wrote it down in this note. Pearls and Posh is honored to be doing business with you. Super excited about like making all this money. Like, I guess we'll see what happens with her. Like, I really don't see this ending well, obviously.
Sorry, her whole thing for making money right now is to pay off like the ex-husband's like debts. Is that why?
I mean, now that she's tied to it's technically her debt as well.
Oh, right. Okay. It's like an Erica Jane situation.
Clear her name. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then it cuts to Archie and Eric. It's like the final scene. So it's Archie and Eric in the trench, and he's calling out to Bingo. And Eric is like, he's dead. Like, he's not alive anymore.
This one made me cry.
And this is when he wakes up from the dream and he hears a phone call. And it's the people who are like supposed to help rehabilitate Eric. And he's like, yeah, I'm calling on behalf of my friend, like Eric Jackson. And he hears something in the corner. And so he turns behind him, and it's a figure of
Bingo.
We're assuming it's Bingo, like dead, kind of like hovering in the corner. And then he turns back to the camera and he's like, I think I might need help too. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps again.
Same. I got chills. But it was a really good way to end the episode.
I loved it.
I thought it was really well done. I'm excited to see how they delve deeper into this story. But yeah, a good way to end that.
Ending. Let's get into questions because I know our fans are right now waiting on the edges of their seat for us to discuss, because something major does happen in that last scene.
Oh, okay.
So I finished the episode. I'm like, cool, whatever. We get a bunch of tweets being like, did you even see the BARCHIE crumb? And I'm like, all about the breadcrumbs. Like, I'm down, but I did not see a BARCHIE crumb.
Neither did I.
So there's a moment right when he like answers the phone in that scene.
Yeah.
Well, the window beside his bed is like glowing light. Like it's like freaking God is coming through like this window.
Okay.
And I was like, but where's the BARCHIE crumb? And they like sent me the photo. And then I think like it's like they're like, it's the window in the dark or something. What's that BARCHIE saying? It's like, I'm the light in the window when it's dark or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was like, okay, like I guess, but like he's not really talking to Betty when like that's happening.
Yeah, so, very disconnected.
And it wasn't just one person; like a bunch of people messaged us about this, about
like BARCHIE stands. Are you talking?
Yeah, obviously BARCHIE stands, not BARCHIE stands. I'm not gonna message us about that. So I mean, you didn't even notice it. So yeah, my question was like, what did you think? But like, yeah, if you didn't notice it, because I didn't notice it either. And then when I went back, I'm like, yeah, maybe that, like maybe, but I was like, I don't know, because there's really no connection to Betty in that moment. Like he's not on the phone with her. It's not, there's no text message from her. Like if it was a text, then like I would understand. But
I also, I didn't don't
know, guys. I love BARCHIE. You guys know how much I'm a BARCHIE shipper, but like I didn't see it in that moment. Like, I don't know. But
anyway,
I'd like to hope. I mean, you could dream. So that was the BARCHIE crumb. I was going to ask you thoughts on Kevin's storyline about this episode. I think we already discussed it basically to the end.
Pass.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Hard pass. Okay,
so I think we can get into our recap roundups.
Let's do it.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. My best moment is gonna go to the entire chainsaw chase. It was filmed so well, and it was really scary. Like her being in the cabin and like she has to like duck down. It's just like it gave me a lot of anxiety, and a lot of these scenes feel very cheesy. But that one, I don't know, it just felt a little different. So I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Mine is gonna go to when Penelope takes a swig of wine while Kevin and Cheryl are talking, and it's a quick moment, but I died of laughter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great moments, but which I'll talk to in the other sections of our roundups, but this one made me laugh.
WTF moment. WTF moment, I'm gonna have to say the dog storylines, because every single time they said dog, I'm like, what? Like, what the hell is going on right now?
Dog?
Like, why is this whole episode centered around dogs? And then someone even like tweeted, they were like, if I hear a freaking Sarah McLachlan song right now playing in the background, like I'm gonna lose it. And if you guys have never seen those, like, what's it, like the SPCA?
Arms of an Angel?
Yeah, like her. So I was dying. But honestly, I think the way they ended off that whole storyline and how it came around, I absolutely loved it. And it's one of those moments where, you know, the shock of like, what the hell is going on? It pays off in the end. Like it makes sense. And I love when they do that. So yeah, I loved it. Yeah,
it was a really good like twist of the story for sure. My WTF moment is gonna be the guy coming in with the chainsaw. I know it was your favorite moment, but I was like, whoa, like this is a little bit much. And I was like, what the hell is happening?
MVP.
MVP, I'm gonna have to give to Archie, because this guy just does it all. And then in the end, ultimately, in that last moment, for him to say like, I need help, you know, the admitting of that's a huge step for him. Major. Huge step. And I'm so happy with the way this character is unfolding this season. I love where they take him. He's extra, but he's Archie, and he's always has a huge heart. So like, I love him so much.
And you really do understand where he's coming from. Like, you know, we always say like, oh, Archie, why are you like going after a dog fighting ring right now? Like all these things are really wrapped into the fact that he has trauma. And I just hope they give him something. I mean, he's already far gone, right? Like he's already had so much trauma in his life, including going to the army. So like it is what it is, but it was I'm really interested to see what they do with this character next.
Me too. And I have to say shout out to them for doing those flashback scenes with him at the war, because I do feel like it adds a whole other layer that brings us that emotion that we wouldn't have gotten if he was just explaining it. True. So thank you to the team, thank you to the production team for even setting up those shots. I'm sure they took a lot of work to like build those trenches and like costumes and all those things. It does add the effect, and
for sure
we do need it. So I do appreciate those moments.
Agreed. My MVP is gonna go to Cheryl. I think that outside of Archie, she kind of killed it for me this episode. I know that I wasn't a fan of Kevin, but I think that like what Cheryl is trying to do is like good, and she was everywhere, and she looked beautiful, and I love her. Yeah. So that's it.
LVP. I'm gonna have to see our girl Betty, because I feel like she was making a lot of like amateur mistakes, and like she's getting into the truck, like there's like no backup, like I feel like she's doing a lot of weird shit that like someone at her level shouldn't be doing, and she's acting very like emotionally, and I want something better for our girl Betty. Like
agreed. I think that she's been a lot more she was smarter a lot before this. She's been smarter in high school. This is 7 years later. We're supposed to expect that she's going to do something that stupid. Like, doesn't make sense. I'm going to give my LVP to Veronica. And I know that you really like the storyline between her and Reggie, but this episode really showed me that she's like literally like in her own lane. Yeah. Like she stays in her own lane. She doesn't care about whatever is going on. We saw her do the coyote.
But is that her fault, or is that the writer's fault?
Of course. That's why I'm saying like her as a character, like not loving the storyline she's getting. I definitely feel like literally every single person, including Kevin, as much as I can't stand him, is doing something for everyone else. She's literally focused in on, I need to make money because of my husband and my divorce, and I need to get it because I need to get it for Archie. Like nothing has to do with anyone else except for her own shit. And I'm just like, how are you guys gonna pull her back so we actually care about Veronica? Because
interesting. Yeah, no,
sure, she's like I'm into like what she's doing. Sure, like to your point, it was entertaining watching them together, but they didn't even give us any emotion, which they could have given us. Yeah. And at the same time, I'm also just like, what are you good for right now? Like you danced on the bar and that was it. Like you didn't.
I almost feel like Cami Mendes like sometimes hates her lines too, because they do put her in this like lane where like she says shit like she with a Wall Street. Like I feel like she hates it too. Like it's a little campy. Everyone else is doing like real stuff around the corner.
She's great moments. She's had great moments in the past. So I don't know. Anyway.
The best line.
What was your best line?
Best line is gonna go to Tabitha, and she's like, "Can't Find the Moonlight" is one of my favorite karaoke go-tos. Yeah, I was like,
so good,
relatable.
And then we didn't get it, so unrelatable.
Yeah, exactly.
So mine is going to that moment between Archie and Frank where he says, "You can't save everyone, Archie," and then he says, "That feels wrong. Everything feels wrong. I'm trying to save this town, but it's so corrupt. I feel like there's nothing worth saving here." And then he says, "Don't lose hope, Archie." Freddie talks about why it was such a great scene and why I love that line. I think it's really going to start pulling Archie back. Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's get into your recap roundups really quick. We have from Twitter at BARCHIE, Barch Olivia, best moment BARCHIE Crumb at the end. WTF moment Cheryl's entire story arc. MVP Archie / Uncle Frank. LVP Hiram, just because he was barely in the episode.
Fair.
Best line, I'll give you a dogfight line from Archie. I'm paraphrasing, loudly crying face. Oh, that's the emoji.
Oh, I'll give you a dogfight.
Yeah.
At CHONI5 on it says best line, Cheryl being sane. WTF moment, the singing, when is it gonna end? MVP is Cheryl being nice to Kevin, not getting him into a cult. LVP, Cheryl getting Kevin into another cult. Plus Betty's police brutality storyline. And then best line, Reggie calling Veronica a queen.
Ooh, he called her a queen? I didn't notice that either. Wait, can we really quickly talk about the fact that is Cheryl only doing this to Kevin so that he gets into the religion?
I don't know.
You think it's genuine, like genuine concern?
I do think that it's genuine. But,
okay, that's a good point.
But I don't even know if she knows why she's there. Like, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. At Weird Takes, best moment, Betty fighting for her life was so riveting. WTF moment, the show tunes. I don't remember this many musical numbers. When will we be solving Jason's murder? MVP, Archie's uncle is doing a great job of being a father figure to Archie, and he's done so much good this episode. Agreed. LVP, I'm sorry to Cheryl, but just what the F is she doing? Best line, Bingo wasn't a dog.
Ooh,
yeah, that was good.
The turn of the whole episode. Totally. At Shameless 30s Riverdale says, best moment, Betty versus Chainsaw Trucker. WTF moment, Cheryl's church. MVP, Betty and Tabitha come as a pair. I love that. That's like, you know, I love that they're
I love them together, guys. Like, I'm loving them together.
Yeah, they're so good. LVP is Moose destroying end games. like swooping in. I'm like, who knows? Maybe there'll be like a throuple. Like, that's a thing. We'll see. Best line is between I should have hit you harder when I had the chance from Betty, and I caught them eating wine and cheese.
Yeah, that was good.
And then she goes, ew, diabolical.
At Mackenzie L. Burns, best moment, Archie's flashback to help us understand what happened a bit more. 100% agreed. WTF moment, Bingo being a real person. Moose and Fangs, question mark.
Yeah.
MVP is Tabitha. LVP, the low-life dogfight ringleader, or Glenn. They both can go, never come back. And best line, the Sergeant Archie Andrews, I think I might need help too.
Yeah. So good. At Barchie Alert says, best moment, veggie scenes, Barchie crumbs. WTF moment, Archie beating up that man. MVP, Tabitha. LVP, Cheryl. Best line, I'm still a bumper sticker on the shady ass truck.
That was a good line too, but I didn't really get it though.
Who said that?
I think Betty says it when she calls Tabitha.
Oh,
like, where are you or something? She's like, are you coming back or something? And she's like, I'm still a bumper sticker on this shady. Like, I guess because she's following him, so it's like a bumper sticker. But I was like, yeah, whatever.
Cute. Well, that is the episode, everyone. I would like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder squad, White Nicole, our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Soleil, and Kate, and our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Grace.
Thanks, guys. And if you'd like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, our new Twitter, recap_rewind pod. YouTube, Facebook. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks for listening.
Bye.